sponsors who have helped to make this event possible tonight. And you know what? I think I see one right now. Joseph Woodson, can you come up to the stage, please? Joseph Woodson? Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Don't worry.
My name is Joe Woodson. I'm the manager for First Business Empowerment at PGE.
And why does this year's theme, The Great Divide, Work, Wages, and Wealth, resonate with your organization?
This resonates with us because supply diversity is very important to PGE's prioritization and commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we feel like we need to be here to support this event, and we hope that we can find partnerships while we're here as well.
Absolutely, and we appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And I think I see Carl Brown. Carl Brown, can you come up to the stage, please? Tell us who you are and why this year's theme resonates with you.
All right. Hey, I'm Carl Brown. I'm the executive director of the DC Small Business Development Center at Howard University. All right. Ain't you? All right. And why this theme resonates with me is because I run the Small Business Development Center to do one thing, to make people, black businesses, create wealth in America. That is our number one priority right there. So we are trying to make sure that we erase that divide and create wealth in our community, generational wealth.
Absolutely, and we thank you so much for your work. Thank you for being here. And then I think I see Anthony Stewart. Anthony Stewart, can you come up here for a second? Tell us who you're with and tell us again, why does this theme resonate with your work?
Good. Good evening. My name is Anthony Stewart. I'm the president of American Plastic Agency, the largest Black-owned, female-owned organization of its kind in the country. And the bridging that wealth gap is something that's very important to us. That's why this theme really resonated with me. We got to really close the wealth gap, protect income, eliminate debt, eradicate poverty, and also pass the generation down. So this is why this is important to me. Last year, we set a goal of $1 billion of future tax-free transferable wealth. We did 1.1 billion this year we would do 1.5 billion of future tax-free transferable wealth back into middle America.
That's awesome. Thank you again for your work and thank you for your support tonight. And then Leisha Evans, last but not least, come up here, please. The best for last.
Good afternoon.
And you know the drill by now. Tell us who you are and why this theme resonates with your work today.
My name is Leisha Evans. I'm with Wells Fargo. I'm a business banker. And it resonates with me with Wells Fargo because really, when it comes down to it, there are a lot of successes in the African American community and the Black community. But this segment of the population still continues to strive for economic equality. And when it really, comes down to it, Wells Fargo has supported and collaborated with organizations like the AFRO, the U.S. Black Chambers, the NAACP, the National Urban League, in order to support their growth in helping Black people get what I call economic parity. So, as a matter of fact, Wells Fargo donated a grant for $50 million to the NAACP this year, and it's the largest grant that the civil rights organization has ever received. So we're putting our money where our mouths are, and I am proud to work for a company that's supporting people like you.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you to all of our sponsors. Tonight, you are going to be hearing from an incredible lineup of business advisors, executives, and wealth coaches across 4 stages. We have our main stage, 2 work and wages stages, and our wealth empowerment stage. So remember, check them all out. Don't stay at one stage too long. Make sure you get to all of them. Without further ado, let's get this expo started.
Hello, my name is Anthony Stewart. I'm the president of American Classic Agency. I'm excited to be here with the AFRO at the third annual Black Business Matters Expo. I mean, the theme is right on time, closing the divide with work, wages, and wealth. I'm excited to be here, and I hope you're enjoying yourself.
Hello and welcome everyone. Today I want to talk to you about a very important subject to all of us, especially for people of color, and that is managing your manager. This topic is really important because it allows us to really chart our destiny in our business world and business operations. So, you know, let's just face it, we all have a manager. We have somebody that we report to. So it becomes a little bit difficult in trying to manage that individual. But truth is, you can actually manage dynamic that you have with your manager by really taking charge of your career, knowing what you're worth, as well as investing in yourself. So in this presentation today, I'm going to share with you some really practical tips on how you can really manage your manager. Next. So our agenda is going to cover some basics, just really how you can understand your manager, really working to define your career path, overcoming the obstacles that you have in the workplace, and also really trying to establish your value, having that support system, and really focusing on your worth and your overall well-being. And as a person of color, there's no secret to us that the odds may be stacked against you in the workplace. This is particularly relevant in 2023 because we continue to face of really great challenges as it relates to all of the isms, sexism, racism, microaggressions, as well as discrimination in the workplace. But despite these challenges, it's possible for us to achieve success and fulfillment in our careers. Just really about investing in yourself, knowing your worth, and taking control of your destiny. Next. So just a little bit about me. I am the CEO of the HR Chic Group. We are an award-winning HR consulting company. We help small businesses and individuals really leverage all of the talents and skills that they have to really create sustainable lifestyles as well as successful businesses. And I'm truly passionate about creating equity, equality for all, and fairness within the workplace. So that's a part of our strategy is a all right. So we're going to get into our next slide. Just as I mentioned before, it's pretty difficult to do so. But we know that we can't really manage someone that we actually report to. So in simple terms, what that means to you is that you take an active role in shaping your professional relationship with your manager, setting clear expectations and also proactively communicating your needs and your goals. And managing your manager is crucial to you because your manager is a person of influence that you have for your career path as well as deciding on whether or not you get promoted in the company. They can also affect your job satisfaction and engagement within your company. So by managing your manager effectively, you can create a very positive and productive work environment and develop a good working relationship with the person that you report to. Next. All right. So understanding your manager is the first thing that you need to do. You need to be able to establish a working relationship with your manager. I know there's some managers you will not like, but you will need to understand them in order to work. So just making sure that you create an understanding of their work style. Know what type of hours that your manager has a preference for. What are those preferences in terms of the work that you provide? So your approach to this relationship is really important because this will determine whether or not your manager is an ally or adversary. So you can understand a little bit better that the goals and the priorities that they have for the company. Try to establish trust and build a rapport. Communicate clearly and proactively. If you don't understand something, really try to gain clarity with that manager and get those expectations. So communication is going to be key. Communicate effectively with your manager by just keeping them up to date on your progress, asking for feedback, expressing your concerns if you have some. And remember, effective communication is a two-way street. So if you're not getting that from your manager, you should definitely let them know that. So your proactive attitude will actually show your manager that you're invested in your role. You want to contribute to the company's success. So don't be afraid to take risks, step outside of that comfort zone and do what you know how to do in that work. So take that time to really understand the working style, communication preferences, and priorities, because this is going to help you tailor for the approach that you have for your manager to build that collaborative and strong relationship. Next. So once you have that relationship, it's really important for you to really understand, how you're going to define your career path. So remember, this relationship is about you connecting with your manager, but it's really about you building your career path. So it's great to have that relationship, but remember, your manager is not the keeper of the key. You hold the key to your true success. So begin by charting your own career path and destiny. You don't have to wait for your manager to talk to you about career opportunities. Always, I tell individuals, keep your resume active. Always look for additional career opportunities. And you can create your own terms by looking for internal projects that you can work on to expand your knowledge. Develop new skills that you never have thought of developing, and networking with other professionals within your industry and also outside of the company. So by doing so, you become a truly valuable asset to your organization, and you also increase the chances of you advancing. And again, as a person of color, it's important to have that clear vision of a career path and goal, because you may not have that individual to support you as an ally to help you navigate through that. According to LinkedIn, about 70% of employees who feel that they have a control over their true career path are very successful, and they actually love their jobs. So this just actually illustrates the importance it has that you take that key and you control it. So think about what you want to do from the next 6 months, the next year, the next 12 months. What do you want to do in this in terms of your career within your 9 to 5. If it doesn't fit within your 9 to 5, that may be a door opening to entrepreneurship that you can employ yourself. So definitely set up that clear roadmap. This will help you to get that informed decision to stay focused on your true goal, which is yourself. Next. Now, as you're developing that career path, and as you know, in corporate America, with the pandemic, a lot of us have worked virtually, but going back into the office, we actually encounter these obstacles. So overcoming these obstacles that we are definitely faced with, which is a toxic workplace. Toxicity in the workplace is at its highest level that it's ever been in 20 years. So a study by the McKinsey & Company found that companies that really focus on diversity within their actual teams, they have more likelihood of having better performance. So that means including everyone and making sure that everyone has a seat at a table. So invest in yourself by really trying to stem those actual roadblocks, which may again creep up, such as those isms, sexism, racism, microaggressions that you may encounter with your coworkers. And even your leadership team or manager, and discrimination. And it's possible that these issues can temporarily impede your ability to progress within your career plan and also maintain a good relationship with your manager. So unfortunately, workplace discrimination is a reality for a lot of us. And it's very important that you know your rights, understand that you can have a plan to address those issues as they arise. Speak up when that occurs immediately, when you encounter any behavior that is not conducive to your workplace, and also report that immediately. So develop a strategy to advocate for yourself, whether that's contacting your manager, if your manager is the individual or a member of the leadership is a part of this, then you would actually escalate that to human resources. You can also work with a mentor or peer, or outwardly seeking legal advice. So whatever you have to do is necessary to overcome those work obstacles. Next. All right, so once you've done that, you definitely have to build a support system. So many individuals work in silos and work by themselves, and that's important. You can move in silence, but you also need a support system to help you. So by managing and working with your manager, you can chart your career path by just having that support system with your peers, mentors, and those allies that are internal to you. They can offer you some guidance. They can provide you coaching, encouragement, and accountability. You definitely need the accountability. So you as an individual, you're going to bring that unique perspective to the workplace, making sure that you're being included, sharing your ideas, your experiences. Again, make sure you always speak up and offer ideas that you have, and you can show your manager that you are truly an asset to the team. So remember that you are essential to creating a very successful career for yourself, and you can do so by developing that support system within the company. Next. All right, so once you've done that, you have a path, you've connected with everybody. One of the biggest things that most individuals overlook is not knowing your worth. You have to know your value and what you can offer to help you succeed. It's one of the greatest challenges that I see in corporate world, that everyone is actually approaching their value and undervaluing their worth. That results in lower pay, fewer opportunities for you, and even fewer opportunities for advancement and recognition. A study by Glassdoor found that there was a gap that still exists for individuals of color earning per dollar on average than their white counterparts. So it's important for us, and that means that we have to know what our worth is. We always have to negotiate for better pay and benefits if you're presented with an offer, or if you've been offered a promotion. Remember that you are definitely a brand. So think of yourself like like a Nike or a McDonald's. They're a global brand. You're a global brand. So you can ask for top dollar for your talents and for your skills. So make sure that you research your industry, look for those standards for compensation and pay, and make sure that you're being fairly compensated in comparison to your peers for what you are worth. And if you're an entrepreneur, making sure that you're doing that research to compare what you're offering to those that are offering the same services. If you're not meeting that, advocate for yourself, negotiate for better pay and for better benefits, either with your manager and also the company. Next. All right, so we talked about knowing your worth. Once you know your worth, it's so important that you invest in yourself. Be a lifelong learner. Start with really looking into your internal self and personal development. The job market is changing so drastically overnight. So it's so important for you to keep up with your skills. Always be on top of what's happening in your industry and what those trends are. You can take online courses, you can attend workshops, you can attend conferences, such as this one, network with professionals like yourself and in your field. And by you investing in yourself, you will definitely increase your value. You will become more attractive to potential employers and other individuals. And there's so many resources out there that are available to help you manage that career and that relationship with your manager. So you can chart your career path and also overcome those obstacles by that key ingredient, which is yourself. So once you invest in yourself, you'll be able to gain knowledge that no one can take away from you. So always look for resources on development programs, training programs. Most companies offer educational assistance, continuing development assistance. You can use those monies to really develop yourself, as well as seek outside coaching and mentoring. So that's really important. Once you know your true worth, is that you truly invest in yourself. All right, next. All right, so we have the formula. We've invested in ourselves. We know our work. We've established a relationship with the manager. We have this true support system, but you can have all of that and also not have your mental health. Your career success really relies on your well-being. You can't overload and focus on too much work because that will overtake you. So it's so critical to you that you understand, that you determine what's priority for you in your life. Set those realistic deadlines. Really avoid overextending and overworking yourself, and just taking care of yourself by getting rest, exercise, and engaging in activities that make you feel good about yourself and that you enjoy. And that your well-being is a day-by-day thing. It's not something that happens overnight. And I know people tell you to focus on it, but it's a day-by-day goal that you can have. And when you take those breaks, you set boundaries with individuals that you work with, you take personal time off and not overload your schedule, you're able to stay focused, you're able to stay motivated, and you can avoid burnout. And don't hesitate to seek assistance from mental health professionals, associations, and even your employee assistance program. By you staying silent and not doing anything, that can actually harm you. So you have the power within you to be resilient. You can face those challenges in your career, but it's so important to bounce back from them, is that you recharge and you actually consider your well-being and your mental health. All right, next. So we talk about managing your manager. It's all about placing all of these elements together to work together to really help you achieve success and fulfillment in your career and the relationship that you have with your manager. It's a MYM. It's you managing your manager by making your move. This is all about you. So when you're able to outline all of these strategies, put together your career path, you have so what of a good relationship with that manager, you're able to chart that path out. At that point, you know that you're able to really advance within your company, and you can also put this together for other peers. You can share and coach and mentor them too. So I would encourage you to encourage others to take action today. If you don't take it today, you will neglect on what you could be and what you could have been. So it's so important, take that action today, focus internally on yourself, by that development, working inwardly, and also knowing your worth. You can develop those strategies to truly manage your career and also build a sustainable at your company, also a great relationship with manager. All right, next. All right, next. All right, so we've talked a lot about today that you do in truly managing your manager. As I stated before, it's not about you being manager, it's about where you have that power to really chart your own career path in collaboration with your supervisor or manager. You can achieve anything that you set your mind to with hard work, dedication, and a positive attitude. You can also achieve that fulfillment in your career by maintaining a healthy work-life balance in today's workplace. So just invest in yourself, know your worth, and also collaborate with others. You will become that truly valuable asset to your organization and achieve that personal fulfillment. Once you gain that fulfillment, you will be happy at where you are within your career. So I want to thank you for your time today and really sharing about a lot of tips that will help you. And hopefully this presentation was extremely helpful for you to really navigate understanding your manager. You can connect with me online. You can find our organization at the HR Chic Group on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as Instagram. And we also have a website that's dedicated to additional resources in managing your career. So I hope you will check us out. And not only check us out, check out additional sessions throughout this expo so that it will help you as you're trying to determine where you should go in terms of your career or whether or not you become an entrepreneur. So good luck, and we thank you for your time today, and continue to enjoy each of the sessions at the Expo.
I'm so excited to be here to share with you the topic of finding your voice from the conference room to the boardroom. And the very first thing I want to do is I want you to get into the space and the mindset of knowing that your voice is more valuable than maybe you have been acknowledging. So the first thing I want you to do, if you're able, is just kind of sit up in your power stance as a woman. You know, we all have that power pose or that power position, whether you're standing or whether you're sitting. Just, it's kind of about raising your head up a little bit higher and pulling your shoulders up and really feeling the power from within so that it can exude from you. And as you're in that power stance or that power position, I want you to repeat a mantra that I'm going to share with you, because it really will put you in the mind frame of understanding, acknowledging, finding, and owning the true impact and influence that is connected to your voice. Are you ready? All right, here we go. My voice is my superpower. From the conference room to the boardroom, my voice is necessary. My opinion holds great value. My perspective is valid and important. My viewpoint is too critical to stay silent. I will speak up, speak out, find and own the power of my voice. Woo! Did that feel good to you? I hope it did. I hope it was a reiteration to your inner self of just how powerful your voice truly is. Now, as a professional woman, your voice, it is indeed your most valuable asset. Don't ever forget that, because your voice is, in effect, an outward representation of who you are, what you believe, what you value, what you stand for, what you want for yourself, and what you want for others as a leader. Your voice allows you to make impact and influence. And when you don't share your voice, it's equivalent to, let's just say, an orchestra that has missing instruments, which means there are going to be missing sounds, which means that that orchestra is not going to be in tune. Let that really resonate within you, that if you don't share your voice in the workplace, that everything will be out of tune and it will not be in alignment simply because you made a decision to stay silent. It is so critical that you find your voice, because it is the instrument that allows you to do a number of things. Number one, It allows you to share your unique creative ideas. Number two, your voice allows you to express your opinions and your perspectives. It allows you to share feedback and suggestions, to share viable solutions that you might have for your team or your company. Your voice allows you to persuade people and rally them together towards a common goal or a vision, especially with you being a leader. Your voice allows you to advocate for yourself and what you want, as well as for others that you're leading. It allows you to even call out toxic behaviors when necessary. Your voice allows you to negotiate your salary, your position, and promotions, and even to share your accomplishments and articulate the impact that you've had within an organization. So then, if your voice is that powerful and profound, and it's necessary and valuable, what are the big challenges facing women in the workplace as it relates to sharing their voices? Well, one of the biggest challenges is that women, most of us, are taught at a very early age that there is a negative connection to us speaking up and speaking out for ourselves. So as a woman, I can almost guarantee you, doesn't matter what your background, where you came from, what your age, that at some point you have heard or have been told these words. As a woman, it's better to be seen, not heard. Have you ever heard that expression? Have you ever said that expression to someone else? So for women who do make themselves heard, oftentimes the challenge is that they're labeled. They're labeled as being pushy or aggressive or difficult. Or women who do choose to find their voice and speak up, they worry about talking too much because it's going to cause them to be disliked. Or that somehow when a woman speaks up, she's imposing for having an opinion or for requesting clarification. And because of that, so many women in the workspace, they are hesitant at the very thought of speaking up. There was a study done by Yale University, and it found that women speak up less often at work than their male peers. Now, it could be because when they do, the study showed that the competency rating of a woman decreases by 14%. Did you hear that? It decreases. But for men, it's the complete opposite. This Yale University study showed that when men speak up more often than their women, female counterparts, that their competency rating increases up to 10%. Imagine that, a decrease for a woman, but an increase for a male. There was a study done by the American Political Science Review and Carnegie Mellon University, and it was determined in both those studies that men tend to dominate 75% of conversations in decision-making groups. And even further, the studies showed that women are less likely to speak up for themselves and negotiate aggressively. And when they do speak up and when they do negotiate aggressively, they tend to face a social backlash and be seen as less likable and less trustworthy. Wow. Take all of that in. Maybe you've even experienced some of that yourself. So it's no wonder that you might have a hesitation or a fear about finding and owning and using your voice. Let me share at least one more challenge. Another challenge is the negative self-talk that oftentimes women in the workplace have in their heads that holds them back from finding their voice and expressing themselves. I want you to ask yourself and be honest, have you ever caught yourself in a space of any of these limiting thoughts? And have you caught yourself playing these and replaying them over and over and over in your mind, which prevents you from speaking up? Have you ever said to yourself, well, what if I speak up and I'm wrong? Or, yeah, I don't think I know enough to be a part of this conversation. Have you ever caught yourself saying, you know what, if I speak up and I don't say the right thing, they're going to make fun of me? Or who do I think I am to interject my perspective into this conversation? Maybe you've caught yourself thinking or saying to yourself, you know what, my opinion really doesn't even matter, so I'm not going to say anything. Or what if I sound stupid by the question I'm going to ask? I don't want people to dislike me. I don't want people to think that I'm not smart or I'm not good enough. What we have to acknowledge is that by staying silent, it actually can cost you more than speaking up. And secondly, what we have to acknowledge is that it is time for us as women to reframe any negative or limiting thoughts that we have about speaking up and finding our voice and using our voice into what could be possibility and potential and positive outcomes. So if you had any of those or have experienced or said any of those negative thoughts to yourself that I just mentioned, I want you to really be intentional about working to reframe those thoughts. Flip them around and instead say to yourself, you know what? I wouldn't be in this room if I weren't a valuable asset and my voice wasn't needed. My voice is too important to this conversation for me to stay quiet. You know what? I bring a different perspective that absolutely needs to be heard in this space. So I'm going to speak up. Maybe you can even think to yourself, my creativity and my ideas deserve to have a voice at the table and they are worthy of being heard. And here's a very powerful one, because oftentimes we are afraid of speaking up, sharing our voice, but feeling like we might be wrong. So I want you to reframe that to this type of thought process. You know what? It's okay, even if I am wrong. Being perfect is never my goal. Being a part of the conversation is. And then add to that in your own little personal parentheses. And you know what? No one gets it 100% right 100% of the time. So I'm in good company. When you start to reframe your negative, limiting thoughts and internal self-talk, and you reframe it to positive possibilities and outcomes, and consistently reinforce for yourself that your voice is valuable and needed, it will give you the courage to speak up more often. Equally as important in reframing what you say to yourself and your inner talk as you consider speaking up is also assuming the best instead of assuming the worst. So ask yourself, what if people love what I have to say? What if they value my perspective in this conversation? What if the question I ask is the one question everyone else in this room was wondering too? What if the perspective I share actually shifts us in a new, more productive direction? And here's one really good one. Excuse me. What if my idea gets greenlit and saves the company time or money? You see, even when the stakes are high, you have to be in your own corner as your own advocate and as your own cheerleader, cheering yourself on instead of tearing yourself down about finding and using your voice. You must be intentional. about cultivating positive internal self-talk. Think to yourself, you know what? What? I'm not going to just sit here and be quiet. They're paying me to contribute my opinion to this conversation. What I say doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. I'm not just speaking up for me. I'm speaking up for other women in the room or in the company, or maybe my colleagues or my constituents, my clients or my students, whatever fits in the industry that you're serving in. So as you can see, as women, to find our voices, we have lots of learning to do and lots of unlearning to do. We have to unlearn and unsubscribe to some of the misconceptions that hinder us from finding and using our voices. And we have to learn to be unafraid to use our voice as an asset to help advance our own professional careers, to be unafraid to advocate for ourselves and our future, to be unafraid to use our voices to lead others, and to utilize our voice to navigate situations when people perhaps attempt to question our skills and our abilities. Overall, we must reframe the narrative from believing that our input in the workplace is an interruption and instead own that our voice is a valuable contribution to the conversation. So I want you to write that down. I want you to personalize that. My input is never an interruption. Instead, my voice is a valuable contribution to the conversation. And repeat that over and over and over again, because the way the subconscious mind works, the more you tell it something, the more it believes it. So if you believe that your voice is an interruption, that it's unnecessary, that people aren't going to want to hear what you have to say, then your mind is going to believe it and you are going to act accordingly. But if you keep repeating to yourself that your voice is not an interruption, that it's a valuable contribution, your subconscious mind will take over. It will adopt that as a belief. And then your attitudes and your behaviors and your patterns will align with that belief, which means you will use your voice more consistently. So I want to share with you 7 essential skills that will help you to find your voice in the workplace. Here we go. Number 1, self-awareness. Self-awareness is all about understanding your values, your beliefs, your motivations, and that's crucial to finding your voice. It helps you identify what matters to you. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? And that will guide your communication and your decision making as it relates to sharing your voice. Number 2, this is a big one, probably one of the most critical, essential skills to finding your voice, and that is communication. Now, it's not just communication, it's effective communication. And effective communication is essential to being able to express your thoughts and your ideas in a way that is clear, concise, confident, and compelling. So you want to be very intentional at working on your communication style. Now, communication is really broken down into three elements. There is your words or what you say. There's your tonality or how you say what you say. And then there is your nonverbal, which is what is your body language saying. Now, to really show you and demonstrate how your communication impacts you using your voice, your words only account for 7% of your communication. So words are critical and words are vital and they're very important. But the impact that it will have, the influence, is only attributed to 7%. Moving on to tonality, which is how you say it. And I think all of us have said at some point to our children or someone who we were in conversation with, it wasn't what you said, it was yep, you guessed it. It was how you said it. That's tonality. That accounts for 38% of your communication. And then your nonverbal or your body language. This is eye contact. This is your hand gestures, your posture, your body movements, micro expressions, which micro expressions are just brief facial expressions that you make. All of those nonverbal pieces attribute for 55% of what the person on the opposite end receives. So you have to be aware of all of those elements, what you're saying, how you're saying it, and also what your body is saying, even when you are not speaking and verbally expressing anything. Another part of communication that's equally as vital is what we call active listening. So don't forget that active listening skills are a critical element of effective communication and will enable you to engage more productively in conversations when you are speaking up and sharing your voice. Everything that is said in communication is said in a certain way. It's a certain tone of voice, it's a certain rate of speed, it's a certain degree of loudness or softness, and it is impacted with features such as how direct or indirect you are. What's your pacing? What's your pausing? What's your word choice? Are you using things like figures of speeches, stories, questions, apologies? All of those things impact how powerful and impactful and influential your voice is when you do choose to speak up. So just be very aware of that and maybe even practice incorporating effective communication styles. All right, let me give you the rest of these 7 essential skills to finding your voice. Number 3 is assertiveness. Now, being assertive is not negative. Being assertive simply means standing up for yourself. And it means courageously expressing your opinions and your needs in a way that's honest and respectful. That's what really makes it assertive. And this is really helpful for those who struggle with a tendency to people please. This enables you to express yourself, express your wants, your needs, your desires, but in a way that creates boundaries, and it's done respectfully, but also openly and honestly. So assertiveness is an essential skill if you're going to find your voice. Number 4, emotional intelligence. This involves you being aware of your own emotions and other people's emotions. And that can help you to navigate really complex workplace dynamics. It's also very helpful in building relationships with your colleagues and others so that you can improve how you speak up and find your voice and use your voice when it relates to conflict within the workplace. And at some point, I believe every single one of us gets to a place where there is some type of conflict that occurs or difference of perspective or opinion, and that emotional intelligence is going to be required. Number 5, critical thinking. This involves you analyzing and assessing information and making really informed decisions and communicating based on evidence and logic, not emotion. I'm going to repeat that. You must, if you're going to find your voice and use that voice, you must practice speaking up and communicating based on evidence and logic, not emotion. So this is essential for finding your voice because this is going to allow you to evaluate your ideas, your points of view, and make really meaningful and thoughtful contributions to the discussions and conversations that you choose to speak up and be a part of. The final 2, number 6, adaptability. If you're going to find your voice, you must be adaptable. And that means being able to adjust to changing circumstances, new challenges, changing personalities as you're engaging with different people. So that will help you to navigate different situations and communicate effectively with a variety of people, including even stakeholders within your organization at different levels of seniority. So you must be adaptable. There's a saying in my industry, we say, you must be fluid and flexible, never rigid. So always be willing to flow with change of personality, change of situation, change of circumstances, changes with challenges. You have to be adaptable and you have to be willing to adapt. Let's go back even to communication. Your tonality, your words, your languaging, your expressions, your body language. Oftentimes you will have to adapt based on who you might be engaging with in a conversation as you're speaking up and sharing your perspective, your ideas, and your viewpoints. And last but not least, confidence. You're going to find your voice in the workplace from the conference room to the boardroom. Yeah, you have to show up confident, not arrogant, confident. And having confidence is all about being willing to openly express your opinions and your ideas without hesitation or without fear. That's essential. And confidence is not always something that you're born with, but the beautiful thing is that it's a skill that you can learn over time. When you're confident, you're more likely to speak up during meetings. You're more likely to share your true and honest thoughts and suggestions. You're willing to speak up when you see things perhaps that are not great behaviors in the workplace. You're willing to really speak up and speak truth to situations instead of hiding and being silent. So again, those 7 essential skills are: number 1, self-awareness; number 2, communication; number 3, assertiveness; number 4, emotional intelligence; number 5, critical thinking; number 6, adaptability; and number 7, confidence. Now, in addition to those 7 essential skills, in order to establish yourself as a true thought leader in the workplace, as a creative contributor and someone who's really engaged and committed to the work that you do, it's important that you don't diminish your voice by using what we consider to be disempowering language. Examples of that include things like, oh, I just want to talk to you about. It's that word just. Or sorry for bothering you. It's the word sorry. Or even, well, I guess what I'm saying is, or I think what I'm saying is, those words, guess and think, are disempowering language. So you want to be intentional in replacing those words with words like what I believe is, or statements, I should say, what I believe is, or what I know is, or from my perspective, or my viewpoint is. And you don't ever want to use that word sorry as though you are interrupting. Remember, we talked about that earlier, you being an interruption versus a support to a conversation and a contributor to a conversation. You are always a contributor, not an interrupter. And then you also want to make use of what we consider to be strategic interruptions. This is also very beneficial for women finding their voice and using their voice in the workplace. Now, this isn't about being rude or confrontational. It's just about making your voice heard and adding the value that you know you have to add, especially in conversations when others are not explicitly making space for you to do so. Now, a few of those strategic examples are, you can say the person's name. So for instance, Bob, before we move on, I wanted to loop back to the data that we were discussing. Or you can raise the volume of your voice. So have we considered, and if they're still talking, have we considered going back to the data that we looked at earlier, right? Volume oftentimes is a strategic interrupter. And repeat yourself as needed. So say it as often as you need to. I'm concerned that I'm concerned that we're missing the client perspective here. Do you see how the use of repetition, the use of raising your volume, even saying someone's name can position you to fill in the gaps, to add your perspective, your opinion, your viewpoint, because those are all valuable. So in closing, I'll say this. The most important thing to remember as a woman leader, a woman in the workplace, is that what you have to say is of priceless value. And now is the time to give yourself permission to be assertive in sharing what you know, what you believe, your knowledge, your experience, in speaking up, in sharing your perspective with strength, conviction, and passion, and in taking up space. Yes, from the conference room to the boardroom. Please connect with me online at Cheryl Empowers all across social media. I look forward to staying connected with you. Thank you so much, Afro News, for this opportunity to share.
To get better at pitching and having those opportunities, those conversations, is you want to think about, hey, list your 5 whys. 5 whys is literally that. Why? Well, I think I'm gonna build a skincare company. Okay, why? Because we're organic and people need organic skincare. Okay, why? Because it's ruining people's skin and people's skin needs to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, why? Like literally go through these 5 whys, 5 hows, 10 who's, because this is what's gonna help you pull apart your ability to articulate what you have and what you do. Articulation. This comes from Arian Long. She's the founder of Family Box. She says, become a good communicator. When you're talking to an investor, ask first and include more than money. Include more than money, because investors want to feel important to who they come when they come and how they add value, like introductions. So you need people who know people who got money, and money gets money. So that's pretty much how it works. Discuss where the funding will take you, not what you're using it for. So a lot of times people feel like they have to justify the business or justify the raise by saying to people, hey, here's what I'm going to use it for. Here's how I'm going to do it. Here's what it's going to look like. And they're constantly trying to prove. Well, listen, you already proven. You've already did your 5 whys. You already did your 10 hows, your 10 who's. You're ready. You know this thing inside and out. You've taken the classes to become better at what you do. So now it's a matter of you providing people with opportunity and letting them know where the funding will take you, not just what you're using it for. Have 3 plans for how they'll make their money back. Because in the world of investment, it is about us making money together. It's not a charitable give. It is, can I get in it with you, have some equity in your company, and then that capital return to me at some point. Another thing is knowing what kind of capital you need. The number of times I meet founders who don't necessarily know what kind of capital they need at what moment in their life cycle is crazy. So yeah, there's going to be moments where you need financial capital. There's going to be moments where you need manufactured capital. Like you might need access to a certain kind of machine. Natural capital, you might need access to a certain kind of land. Human capital, talent, huge. And then social capital, which is one of the biggest parts. And what I'm going to talk about is that those bonds, those close friends, bridges, people who are colleagues and with you in school, people in the linkages, people who are linked to other things that you need. Our desires are the kings and queens of our fundraising experience. So what you desire is absolutely what you're delivering. Figure out where you need to be and where you belong, because that is the key. So for this last couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about networking, because this is the most important part. Where do you belong? Map your network. Who do you know? Who do they know? What's your value proposition? Why do you belong with this business? Uniquely positioned. That is the key. You own the business, but the product belongs to the customer. The product or service belongs to the customer. So you want to make sure there's a fair exchange of perceived value. Now, I'm going to run through this really quick about how to lay out your network. Where do you belong? Who are the right people? The way to look at it is like a deck of cards, all right? So first things first, after you start to believe in yourself, after you do your 5 whys, your 5 who's, your 10 who's, your 5 out, Lord have mercy. After you do your 5 whys, your 10 who's, and your 10 hows, here's where you want to go next. Map your network. It's not just, hey, I got a business, give me some money, all right? Until you know who you're going to and why. Now, I'm going to break it down real quick in these 4 categories. The believers. The believers are the people that they believe in you so hard they'll show up and volunteer for you. You probably tell them no because you're like, I can't pay you right now. They're like, I don't need to be paid. I got you. You're like, I don't know. Those are your believers. They're waiting. They're talking. They're sharing. They're reading. They're feeling you when you're talking about on social media. Those are people who are liking and commenting all the time on your products, liking and commenting all the time on your journey. They believe in what you're doing. The way you want to interact with them is feed them. Feed them content. Keep them up to date. Help them know where you're going next. Keep them on your road map to building your business. They're on the journey with you, and they are ready to activate when you need them. Then the space is what I call the linchpins. So these are the people who are maybe in your industry and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna work with them one day. they're leading, they're creating, they're asking, they're discussing, they're pushing. These are the people you want to work with, that you may look at as leaders alongside what you're doing or in your industry, but they never have time. So you want to eventually figure out how you collaborate. You want to eventually figure out how do you work with people like this. And soon you will. Don't get discouraged if you don't in the beginning, because you're all fundraising. Okay. You're all building a business. Your diamonds are your champions. These are the people who right now they telling somebody they know, hey, you know that my sister, cousin, brother, friend of mine got a skincare company. You need to use it, right? They're the ones spreading that word of mouth. They're showcasing, they're spreading, they're testifying, they're urging, they're warning people, hey, you don't got that nigga skincare line, you tripping, right? Like they're telling people, hey, you need to look at this. These are the people that you empower. You put these people on a separate email list, and you give them the bigger milestones of the company, so that they will have the story. You give them the story. You equip them with the story so they can go out and help people on there and tell people about you on their own without you being there. And last but not least, the way to scale something is through the gatherers. These are the people who are clubs. They're together, they're convening, they're charging, they're rallying. They're collaborating, they're town halling right around what you are already talking about. So they already understand. Skincare, and they are the skincare mafia. They already understand. They already understand beauty products, and they buy them faithfully. Like, but they're in groups, a Facebook group that is like, you know, women who love skincare, right? Like, if you want to engage them, because that's the fastest way to scale your product, is through groups of people who are already talking about, convening about conferences, things like that, where you want to showcase your product because they are already ready for you. Now you go through these steps and your 3Bs have leveled up. Your belief, raising capital is possible. I know someone that knows someone. Yes, you do. You're becoming. Your story is unique, and you have a unique value proposition. You are a student of your business, so you are learning and growing at the same time. You belong in this world of business. You belong in the industry that you're in. You know, you will know that I'm unique because I am telling my story to the people who already know and that they should hear it. You trust me because Because trusting me is trusting yourself. Your 3Bs are now leveled up. Thank you so much. That has been Glitch the Code, Access the Capital. I'm Omi Bell. I'm the founder CEO of Black Girl Ventures. I hope that this presentation and masterclass was helpful for you. I know that you can do it. I know that you should stay encouraged, and we are out there to help. So you can reach us at www.blackgirlventures.org. You can follow us on Instagram at Black Girl Ventures, on Twitter at B Girl Ventures. You can follow me at Omi Bell on Instagram and at the Omi Bell on Twitter. You can also listen to my SiriusXM show, The Omi Show, on Sundays on SiriusXM channel 126 Urban View. Thank you so much.
Oh, this right here, this is a godsend. Industry leader like Comcast obviously has set the bar high of where you can go as a business owner. I'm sure Comcast started as a small business at some point as well. So I'm looking forward to the future and growing and expanding and just becoming an enterprise.
So I'm proud to be here today to share the incredible news that in its 2 years, we've awarded over $110 million in monetary, marketing, and technology grants to 13,000 small businesses nationwide.
I really appreciate those large employers like Comcast, right, for what they do in the District of Columbia as it is, both the services that they provide our residents and businesses, the people who they employ, who work here, and the people who they employ who live here, but also their recognition, too, that small businesses are the backbone of our local economy.
Yeah, the investment for Comcast Rise, and thank you Comcast Rise for this investment, it's going to be major, especially coming out of the pandemic.
Comcast Rise is super important to a small businessman like me because they come in and offer a hand, give you credibility, and also make it a little easier the next go round when you're out there looking for, funding and grants.
Thank you, Comcast.
Thank you, Comcast.
Thank you, Comcast Rise.
Greetings. I am Bishop Lisa Wea, and this is Leading with a Left Hand. It's based upon my book of the title Leading with a Left Hand. And the book was actually written by a lefty, being myself, explaining the context of left-handedness from a total life perspective. If you are left-handed, you are constantly adjusting, constantly making things work for you in your context. And traditionally and culturally, left-handedness has been seen as a weakness. We would never shake hands with the left hand. It's always the right hand. And so I talk about how it never occurred to me that there was something wrong with not being right, as in right-handedness. And my journey of learning that there's nothing wrong with being different, that different is not deficient. Only 7% of the world's population is left-handed. Left-handedness isn't a bad thing, however. It actually pushes you to be better. Now, let's look at left-handedness in terms of financial context. I grew up in a very affluent church setting. I cut my teeth in ministry, so to speak, in that affluence at the Morning Star Baptist Church. It was then in Catonsville. It's now in Woodlawn. But after matriculating through all of my ministerial studies, going through the programs, the MDiv and the doctoral program at Howard University for ministry, God called me to the context of Sandtown, Winchester, in West Baltimore. Sandtown, Winchester, when I arrived there in 2008, it was the total opposite in terms of financial context from the neighborhood where I grew up, the neighborhood where I was accustomed to working and doing community engagement, doing all of the functions of my position. A quarter of the homes in Sandtown at the time were abandoned, and it's not much better now. The average household salary in Sandtown is $25,000 a year. And I did not say individual, I said household income. Generational incarceration, early mortality, particularly for the men, but for both genders, for a myriad of reasons. Most of the congregants in my new context were either blue collar or no collar. A lot of small business entrepreneurs, very scarce home ownership, fentanyl overdoses, one of the main culprits killing the community. Often we would find persons having OD'd on our steps or on our parking lot. More young people joining gangs than churches, and certainly very few going on to college from high school if they finish. Most of the community centers closed. There are no banks in Sandtown, Winchester, and no legitimate pharmacies. Complete food desert. This was the crucible of which many of you may have heard of Sandtown, Winchester, because a young man named Freddie Gray lived just a few blocks from my church in the Gilmore Homes projects, and he died in police custody back in 2015. This put the entire community and the surrounding communities in a complete state of upheaval. This made my left-handed context all the more challenging. Many of you saw businesses being looted. The CVS, which was the only pharmacy up in the Penn North area, several blocks up, the only legitimate pharmacy in the community, burned down. Indeed, we saw the frustration of an economically, socially oppressed people. We saw the voice of the oppressed rise up in this moment in the form of riot. Revitalization efforts were extremely strenuous upon myself and other community leaders. And in the midst of working towards this revitalization effort, we experienced a devastating fire within our own facility, which caused us to have to relocate for 2.5 years. We had begun a new building project prior to the fire, but we were only 9 months into the capital campaign when the fire occurred. And so imagine you are an owner of a facility. You have a vision to enlarge, to increase, to expand. You've mobilized all of your stakeholders. You have launched your campaign, your movement to begin the group effort towards this major vision. And in the midst of all of this and coming out of the trauma of the previous year, within the crucible of all of the contextual challenges I just shared, now you no longer have a facility, and the urgency to rebuild, the urgency to create the new, the urgency to move forward has gone to a whole nother level. What I just talked through was the acknowledgement of context. So often in our business practices, and particularly our financial practices, we spend a lot of time talking about what we want to do, envisioning where we want to be. But you cannot map out how to get where you're going if you don't know where you are. And so acknowledging, fully assessing where you are. We had to begin with a full-scale assessment of where we were financially. And this is the painful step that so many do not want to take. We want to get right to the solution. But if you go to the doctor to be made well, the doctor must first what? Diagnose what is wrong, must diagnose your current state. And they're not just going to look at the one thing that you went to the doctor for. The doctor is going to do a full triage and gather basic information to establish a baseline of what is normative for you in all of your various bodily systems. Organizationally, if we are going to move forward from devastation, move forward from setbacks, move forward from these left-handed context. And notice I didn't say get rid of, I said move forward from, because some things you're not going to eradicate. I was born left-handed. I will always be left-handed. I know many persons have trained themselves to be right-handed. LeBron James is one. He's trained himself to shoot with his right hand, but he's actually left-handed. Some things, though, you cannot eradicate. And so the book is really, and what I want to emphasize to you today is that you can be powerful from what appears to be a poor position. The attack is the second step then after assessment. And this requires courage. It requires courage to not only assess, but particularly to attack the situation. And so we had to imply courageous strategy. And I want to give you 5 bullets under this second heading here. Number 1 is education. We must educate ourselves, gain understanding that will help us formulate the strategy. You can't just take and cookie cut what someone else did and apply it to your context exactly. Certainly, there are principles that just work everywhere. But remember, you are unique. Your setting is unique. Your individuality deserves the courage to strategize. And my next point then is innovate. Gain the education, the background in these principles, financial principles, to help yourself formulate the courageous strategy, but then be innovative. Be innovative. Some solutions are waiting for you to find them. Sometimes what you're looking for can be based in the knowledge of what has already been done, but it's actually waiting for you to take that and take it to its next dimension for your context. And that will become a footprint for who comes after you. The next bullet point after educate and innovate is engage. Engage investors. Engage in investors. One of the things I emphasize over and over throughout the book is that you cannot be afraid to reach out. Success, the success that we all desire, it is too lofty a goal to be achieved alone. You cannot achieve it in a silo. There are stakeholders within every organization. Even if you are a sole proprietor, there are people who are waiting to be partnered with. There are resources waiting to be engaged. So within my context, I had to gather our stakeholders There's a corporate gathering of stakeholders. Then there's the small gathering of stakeholders where I had to separate persons based upon their capacity. Then there are the individual investors. Your high capacity investors, they have to be engaged individually beyond the corporate setting. And so there are different methods of engagement that had to be employed. Then there are the community partners, persons beyond our internal stakeholder structure who were doing efforts with which we could partner. And indeed, while we were dislocated during our building project, it was important. It was so important that we remain engaged in this community for the very urgent reasons that I shared within the assessment, the context. And so that was 3 different groups of engagement for investors. You have your corporate, your small group, your individual stakeholders, and then you have your community partnerships beyond your walls. So we said educate, innovate, engage investors, but then inspire. Why? What is your why? Why do you want to restructure financially? Why do you want to grow financially? What will be improved? How does this impact someone even beyond you? What is the mission? What is the vision? And so employing various methods to communicate the why and to keep persons inspired and pressing forward. This was done through verbal messaging, of course, in my context, my Sunday morning pulpit platform, teachings, visioning, branding, making sure everything organizationally that we did, that it was pointing towards the one message that we wanted to convey and keep before the eyes and keep within the minds and hearts of the stakeholders. And so we have educate, innovate, engage investors, and inspire. My 5th point and final point under the subheading of attack then is to employ experts. Cannot finalize the courageous strategy without consultants. Now, the consultant piece was, I would have to admit, a bit of a hard sell to explain why if we are raising money, if we're restructuring financially, why then would we spend money on something that's not going directly into our project? It's not going directly into the community. It's not going directly into the building, but it is essential. Why? Because there are persons who are experts in various types of financial management. And so I did not employ someone who was unfamiliar even with ecclesiastical financial matters. I employed an expert accountant in the area of, and for me, it was church finance, and particularly in obtaining financing through banking institutions. And so vetting and employing experts in whatever you are planning to do to help formulate your strategy. So let's go through the 5: educate, innovate, engage investors, inspire, and employ experts. So we have our acknowledgement and assessment of context. Then we have our attack. The last thing I want to leave with you here is adjusting. And so strategy doesn't work unless you work it. Once you have formulated your strategy, your courage must continue because it will require adjustments. Some people say pivot instead of adjust. Pivot requires, turning in a completely different direction. Sometimes it really is just adjusting. We have learned that the things we were already doing were actually already very good. And what we needed to do was bring on the capital campaign experts to help us more so with motivational principles, things that we had not thought of before. And so it was more of an adjusting and expanding of what we were doing. You cannot be successful. You cannot be successful in implementing any kind of financial move if you are married to the way you have always done things, because the way you've always done things got you to where you are. What adjustments will be necessary to get to where you want to be? Einstein said insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you're looking for different, you have to have the courage to adjust, to do something different. Along the way of this journey, of course, we were out of our building. We had relocated to a community where we were given a facility to use during that time that was within our what we call wilderness experience budget, while we were actively engaged in the process of rebuilding. And so when life stops you, you have to find the way to move forward. Find the way to move forward by employing these 3 things: the assessing, the attacking, the adjusting. And you have to continually remember, it is always a continual work in progress. While we were in that 2.5 years of regrouping and rebuilding, people left, people came, people lost jobs, people's situations changed. We were back in our building for about a year, and recovering, resetting, adjusting to being back home. And pandemic hit. Another left-handed issue to deal with. It required a whole another reassessing, strategizing, and adjusting. And we are still, as many other businesses are, still in that season of adjusting, assessing. I noticed that adjusting, assessing, attacking, adjusting, assessing, attacking. I said it that way because I want you to understand that it's not a one-time thing. It is something you must constantly engage in over and over again if you're going to be fruitful and successful with your business practices, with your money management. And be mindful that things happen in life apart from your business, apart from your efforts with your career and so forth. We each have our own personal life happening, and things are impacted in personal ways along the way. Myself, my entire team, we see ourselves not as survivors, but as strivers, as overcomers. And today, we are in our new $1 million facility, completely reconstructed from private investment. And we are in the process now of finishing what we started, taking what we finished in that season to its next level. We have just re-engaged our dream campaign, looking at where do we go from here, not just with the facility itself, but with our community engagement, with our strengthening and empowering of families. Never let left-handed issues stop you from dreaming, from visioning, from pressing. Assess, attack, and adjust. And when you finish, do it again and again. I'm Bishop Lisa Weah. You can get your copy of Leading with a Left Hand at lisaweah.com. I don't just deal with the community crisis and the internal church crisis. I deal with some very personal crises as well, being an autism mom, being diagnosed with MS, being a woman in leadership. There's a chapter on so much. And then, of course, dealing with the pandemic. I know it will greatly bless and aid you in what you are doing. And I do want to give thanks to the AFRO for this opportunity to share.
actually made this night happen. Where are the
Absolutely.
sponsors?
They're
Where are the
somewhere around
sponsors?
here.
Yes.
But it would be remiss of us if we didn't show some love to our sponsors who help us make events like tonight possible. So up first, we have Dr. Destiny Simone Ramjohn, who is with Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield. Could you please come up? Thank you so much. Dr. Ramjohn, can you tell us why it is so important that organizations like your own partner with organizations like the AFRO to help them both progress?
Absolutely. Good evening. Destiny Simone Ramjohn, proud to serve as Vice President of Community Health and Social Impact with Care First. I want to first say your viewers at home are so lucky, but you are missing out on incredible energy right here in the room, and we couldn't be more proud. So why are we here? The fact is that racial inequities remain one of the most pressing issues of our time. McKinsey estimates that the $220 billion is what it would take to close the racial wealth gap in America today. And that is unacceptable. And so what we know is that the importance of closing that wealth gap will also close the disparities in health that we see in maternal and child health, that we see in behavioral health, and more. So what Care First says is, how do we examine community partnerships with strong organizations like Dr. Tony Draper and the AFRO, and do so in ways that close the gap, the racial ethnic wealth gap, and do so in places in Baltimore and beyond. I also want to say community partnerships are essential, and no one said it better than Dr. Draper herself, who said, when people are healthy economically, socially, spiritually, communities are healthy, and we couldn't agree more. So thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Ramsey Harris from PNC Bank. Mr. Harris, step on down. It's your turn. All right. So first, tell us what you do with PNC Bank, and then tell us why it's so important for institutions like banks to partner with Black businesses.
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I said good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It is just a privilege for us to be here. We're excited about this event, this third anniversary of the Black Business Matters Expo, bridging the racial wealth gap through work, wages, and wealth. My name is Ramsey Harris. I am the Senior Vice President and Community Development Banking Market Executive for PNC for the Greater Maryland market, located right here in Charm City, beloved B-More. I was born and raised Edmondson Village. Just want to plug that West Side. Yes, sir, certified. And what I do for the bank, I oversee our division that is responsible for redeveloping and revitalizing historically disinvested and underserved communities and neighborhoods all throughout the state of Maryland. We do so by way of affordable housing initiatives, neighborhood and revitalization and stabilization efforts, financial education, community service, workforce development, and small and minority business advocacy. And so to answer your second question, the reason why it is so very important for us to partner with our beloved friends at the AFRO as we collectively work together to empower and uplift small businesses, particularly Black-owned businesses, is we recognize that if we're going to create and build generational wealth and really bridge the racial wealth gap, we're going to do so in two primary ways, through home ownership and entrepreneurship. And so at PNC, we are very much committed to ensuring that Black-owned businesses and Brown-owned businesses have the tools, resources, and access to capital that they need to enjoy longevity in entrepreneurship and to be in it for the long haul. We recognize statistically that a lot of small businesses that start out, within 2 years, they have to shut their doors. And unfortunately, a large percentage of those enterprises are Black or Brown owned. And so we're at PNC strategically putting our resources together to be proactive in ensuring that going forward, our enterprises are positioned to survive and thrive. And so I'll stop there because I'm also a third generation pastor and I don't want to start tuning up.
This event ends at 7.
But it is again, an honor for us to be here. And I brought one of my colleagues with me here, Mr. Philip Allen, who's one of our business banking relationship managers. So if anyone in the room afterwards would like to speak with us more about how we are intentionally empowering Black-owned businesses, Philip and I would love to have that dialogue with you. And again, Dr. Draper and Miss Lenora and the wonderful, phenomenal staff at AFRO, we love you. We're looking forward to doing more with you. And it's just an honor for us to be here. Thank you and have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Make sure that you find Mr. Harris. Make sure that you find all of the different resources that are in this room tonight and take advantage of them. All right, we have one more sponsor come out. We have two more, actually. Next, we have the new head Associate Black Charities, Miss Christy Thornton. Come on. Give her a round of applause. Thank you for joining us tonight, Ms. Thornton. Can you tell us why it is so important for Black charities, for Black nonprofits, for Black businesses to come together, sit at the same table, and network and connect with each other?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having us. Associated Black Charities is happy to consider the AFRO one of our strongest partnerships. I am super excited to be the new leader of this organization, and we are doing so much for Baltimore, Maryland, and hopefully beyond Maryland. To answer your question, Black women are starting businesses astronomically at rates higher than any other demographic. We have the power and the position to make significant economic impact. At the same time, Black-owned businesses, Black-led organizations continue to be the least resource. And because of that, it creates an ecosystem that's very competitive. And it makes it feel like collaboration is not the avenue and the road that we should take, which is absolutely not the case. We know that in addition to having issues finding funding and finding capital, that businesses that are Black run, organizations that are Black led also suffer from a lack of support. And so when you don't have support in the form of mentorship, and when you don't have the support in the form of networking and having a pool of people to lean on, it can be as detrimental as not having the other resources. And so one of the things we believe at Associated Black Charities is in the power of collaboration and partnership. And so what you will see us doing to help heal this, as I'm new and I am ready to mingle, we will try to heal some of this disconnectedness by convening, which is something that we do very, very well. We want to convene other Black-led organizations. We want to create a pathway of affinity groups for Black-owned businesses. You will see us convene Black CEOs specifically in Baltimore because a mentorship that is not available must become available. We must be willing to teach others what we know to empower them to do the things that we're doing well as well. So thank you for having us.
Thank you for that. All right.
All right. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we have Miss Katie Truitt and Miss Renee Beck from the United Way of Central Maryland. Hi, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you once also for joining us. So, in partnering with a Black-owned business, what is the impact you make on both the business and the community?
And thank you everyone for having us here. The number of people who have mentioned our CEO, Frank Baker, to me tonight is phenomenal. So thank you all for sharing. I'm going to text them and how many people say hi. So we are partnering. A lot of our work at United Way of Maryland is in health, economic advancement, housing, and education. So obviously, economic advancement aligning really well with work and wages, and we are always looking to support other nonprofits, entrepreneurs. We have a Change Makers Challenge as well as some grants that we manage, and we're always looking to support small businesses, other organizations that are Black led. And Associated Black Charities is a great partner and friend of ours.
Thank you so much for the give a round of applause for all of the sponsors, the people who made tonight actually happen. Now we've been talking a lot about business, and you know business is important, but this is a Black and we gotta
be a little Black.
We gotta have a little bit of creativity come to the stage. Give a round of applause for Miss Gabby Simone. She's gonna bless the stage. Come on down, come on down. Give her a round of applause, y'all.
Hey, Miss Gabby, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. So we recently saw you on, well, we've seen you a little bit everywhere, but we also saw you especially on the Jennifer Hudson show. Can you talk to us about that experience, what that was like?
Well, that experience was absolutely surreal. Just being one of my idols, being somebody that I looked up to, and you know that we all know. We watched Dreamgirls before. We all know her, and just being on stage with her and having a conversation with her was just surreal. And I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Question for you. So we are at a Black Business Expo right now. Can you talk about how important it is to know the business side of the music business of being a creator? Why is it important to have that business in addition to the talent?
Yeah, so it is absolutely important to know because you know it's not all about music. You have to know just money. You have to know what to put out and things like that. You know, you have to know how to put it out. And as an independent artist, I'm still learning. I'm 21, so I'm still learning and I'm still growing in the business aspect of it. And I also just started my own business. So I'm dipping my hands in everything at this point. I'm doing merch. I'm doing There's a whole bunch of things. And I'm right here from Baltimore. I graduated from Emerson. So I'm just big on community outreach and just, just growing, and teaching and just, giving back to the communities. All right.
Absolutely.
Can we just get like one or two little notes? Oh, please.
Just a
Come
little
on, y'all.
something,
Come
something.
on. So she's more encouraged. Give us a
I'm gonna say
little
not
bit,
too
just a
much,
little
just
bit.
something to break.
So I sang a Aretha Franklin song.
Come on, you can sing it here.
So I'm gonna do a little bit. We'll do a cappella if that's all right with y'all. Look now on the morning rain. Yeah. I used to feel so uninspired when I knew I had to face another day. Lord, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, my life was so unkind. But you're the key to my peace of mind. And darling, you make me feel. You make me feel. You make me feel like a natural.
All right, y'all not clapping enough for my taste. Y'all gotta give her a round of applause.
Listen,
Come
I know
on.
we said just a few notes. You left us wanting more. Where can we find you on social media? Where can we contact you?
So you can probably get all social media platforms at underscore Gabby Simone. And I'm also releasing my first single this May. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It's just about self-love and just loving yourself. Nobody can love you better than you love yourself. You gotta tell these people that. So that's what this song is about.
What's the title of your single?
It's called Better.
All right,
And
Better.
will it be available on all streaming platforms? Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's get back to this expo. We have a lot more to learn. We have more speakers coming to the stage. So join us for the second half. And thank you for sticking with us.
ERSITY, one word, at aarp.org with a copy of your capability statement. And please also register with our STARS portal, which you will also be able to find on our website on aarp.org. Once we've determined that your capability and service offering could be a fit within one of those 8 categories that I mentioned, we will reach out and have a further conversation to discuss where you could potentially fit within the AARP organization. If you have any questions at all, please, again, contact us at supplierdiversity@aarp.org, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you, help you, and see how you could fit in the AARP program. Now, over to my colleague, Martin Booker.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here to talk to you about AARP's savings and planning programs and resources. So AARP, my name is Martin Booker. I am the program manager of financial resilience at AARP. So focusing on all things personal finance. Our focus is making sure that that not only will you make money, but you can also manage your money well with all of the resources that we have at AARP. So the first resource that I'm going to tell you about today is our AARP Money Map. We know that one of the most important things is to be able to manage your finances in any stage or in any circumstance. So with our AARP Money Map, one of the first things that you can do is you can focus on unplanned expenses. If you have an unplanned expense, like an unexpected medical bill, an unexpected major home repair, then our unplanned expense module will walk you through what to do in those situations. We none of us like an unplanned bill, but in that case, we're going to make sure that you're taken care of and you know exactly what to do next. Our Money Map tool also has a debt manager function. So if you're in a position where you may have acquired more debt than you want at the moment and you have to pay that down, then work with AARP so that we can help you pay that debt down. We can help you get it to a manageable space to reduce or eliminate that debt. This tool also focuses on savings. So we have a savings planner within this tool. You have to take a big trip, you're saving up to make a big purchase or even a small purchase. So just kind of get your emergency fund in place. And AARP has a way to walk you through how to save for that expense and prepare for that expense, as well as a budget builder. If you're in a position, we know the budget is the foundation of money management. It's one of the most important things that you have to do. So if you're in a position where you're ready to start budgeting, just make sure that your money's in place, then use AARP's Money Map. Get your money. You'll just go to www. Again, that's Money Map. Again, that's Money Map. I want to tell you about is our Social Security until we're in our Social Security until we're in our. We have to remember Social Security. We have to remember Social Security death benefit. There's also a Social Security disability benefit. So people have been taking advantage of Social Security for years, starting as early as childhood. So we don't want to just ignore Social Security as if it's only a benefit that we focus on in retirement. So if you go to our Social Security Resource Center, you'll be able to watch videos. You'll be able to look at articles. There's a Social Security question and answer tool. We even answer questions live with Social Security experts if you have a really important or a really complex situation. So you want to take advantage of our Social Security Resource Center to learn everything that there is to learn about Social Security when you need it. So take advantage of it now. Start to look, start to learn, and start to plan, because Social Security is a part of your retirement universe. It's not just one benefit that you'll focus on when you're of age. So you can visit our Social Security Resource Center at aarp.org/Social Security. So take advantage of that now. Start to learn, start to prep, because it's a part of your retirement. And we want to think about retirement every day that we're at work. Also, the next tool that I'll mention is our AARP Interview and Advisor tool. This is a very important financial tool, because for you who's working on your business, the person who is getting your personal finances in order, what you may want to focus on, or what you may want to think about, is having an expert work with you. And in that case, our AARP Interview and Advisor tool is a tool that's going to help you become more confident and more prepared when it's time for you to find a financial professional. This is a phenomenal tool for finding financial professionals and just making sure that you have what you need so that you're protected against working with the wrong professional, and you're informed in finding the right one. This tool is very interactive. It's very fun. It's a great way to find an advisor. And the tool is going to first walk you through the gold standard of finding the right type of financial professional. What are the things that you want to know? What are the credentials that you want that professional to have? And how do you want them to engage you? What's the appropriate standard for that professional? Next, we're going to walk you through how to prepare for a meeting with a financial professional. We don't want to send you in there without the resources, the tools, and all of the things, all of the know-how as far as what you want to ask and what you want to talk to that professional about. So we're going to prep you with a checklist to make sure that you know exactly what to ask. And then we're going to make sure that after your meeting, we have a standard and a rubric for you to follow through, just to make sure that that professional gave you everything that you need. We know that everyone knows exactly what to tell you if they have to sell you something, right? So we want to make sure that they didn't just sell you something that you didn't need, but they gave you exactly what you needed to work in your best interest. So following that meeting, you'll go back into our tool and just test it against our rubric to make sure that you got exactly what you needed. And lastly, in this 4-part tool is a follow-up email. If you still have some lingering questions, we want to make sure that you can send some really appropriate questions that we vetted and we made sure we're prepared for you to send to that professional to make sure that they can answer everything that you need in writing. So we're telling you that when you go and talk to a professional, you're interviewing this financial professional, but you're not signing up that day. We want to make sure that you think about it, you sleep on it, and that you ask all the appropriate questions. So that's AARP's interview and advisor tool. You want to take advantage of that and take a look at that tool to make sure that you're prepared when working with an advisor. And that tool can be found at campaigns.aarp.org/interview and advisor. That's a very important tool. It's really important for all of us as we work on our businesses, grow our businesses, and bring in the right professional team to work with us. Now, some other things that are upcoming for AARP. We have a phenomenal retirement program that we've created, and it's going to roll out really soon. And it's called thisispretirement.org. I'm sorry. This is pretirement.org. The important thing about this tool is for all of us, we start to think about retirement when we're getting close to it. But imagine starting to focus on retirement long before you actually retire. You're making sure that you're putting your assets are allocated the right way, that you're putting the right contributions into your accounts, that you're setting yourself up mentally and emotionally for retirement even before you get there. So we want to make sure that you thought about this financially, emotionally, and mentally. So This is Pretirement is here for you. We want you to think about retirement every day that you show up to work. So you want to take advantage of this tool that's going to launch early summer with AARP. So be on the lookout for that. And now, with all of these tools I just mentioned, it may be hard to remember them all or write them all down. So I want you to go to aarp.org/money. aarp.org/money. This is where you can find all of our tools, all of our videos, all of our articles about any topic that you can think of that's money related. And all of them are not for 50 plus. A lot of them you can read in your 30s, in your 40s. We want to prepare you because at some point we're all headed towards retirement. We're all moving towards retirement. So we want to prepare for that. So start reading now, start consuming our content now. It's very important because then you'll be better prepared when you reach that day. Also on that website, you'll be able to find things like our AARP calculators. You can find our retirement calculator. You can find our Social Security calculator. And with using these calculators, you can start to project the amounts that you're going to need to retire successfully. So, and if you prepare for that now, then you'll be able to reach that number at a much older, with much more confidence. Our AARP retirement confidence surveys show that more than 60% of people feel like they are not prepared for retirement. That's not going to be you because you're going to start to consume our content now. So as you can see, AARP has something for everyone. We're prepared to serve everyone. So we want you to take advantage of all that we have, regardless of where you are, what stage you're in financially, what stage you're in your business. Start to use AARP now to prepare yourself for the best life that you could possibly live in retirement. Thank you.
You alone know what tomorrow brings. In a world where few hearts survive.
And I know it's the way I feel. And if it's real, I'm going to keep it alive. 'Cause the road, said the road is long. And there are mountains in our way. But still we climb higher every day. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Up from the world we know, where the clear wind blows. See some hang on to what used to be, living their lives looking behind.
All we have is you right now. And our lives are in you to find.
'Cause the road, said the road is long. And there are mountains in our way. But still we climb higher every day. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Up from the world we know, where the clear winds blow. See, time passes by, and sometimes we'll cry, and He'll wipe every tear from your eyes. Lord, lift us up, Jesus. Where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Lord, lift us up where we belong. From the world we know, where the clear winds blow. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Lord, lift us up where we belong. I want the Lord to lift me up from the world we know, where the clear winds blow. Lord, lift us up where we belong. Oh, Lord, Lord, lift us up where we belong. We
It's 1 o'clock.
Greetings. My name is Troy Lamel Stovall. I serve as the CEO of TEDCO, and we couldn't be more happy to participate in the AFRO's Black Business Matters Expo 2023. At TEDCO, the idea and the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion, DE&I, is a fabric of what we do both internally and with the ecosystem. We'll have dedicated resources and efforts to create a culture of belonging, while also embracing and leveraging those differences, both within our organization at TEDCO and within the many businesses that we support in this ecosystem here in Maryland. So please come to our website, www.tedcomd.com. That's www.tedcomd.com for a ton of information on our resources, our funding, and our support for the ecosystem. Look forward to seeing everybody at the Business Expo.
The District of Columbia has become one of the least affordable places in the country to live. In the last 10 years, we lost 15% of our African American population. Where we live was a 5-year commitment by Wells Fargo Bank to invest more deeply in the District of Columbia.
We were given $1.6 billion and given a blank canvas on how we should disperse that.
$1.6 billion.
I think represents this seriousness that the leaders of our company took to being partners with the community.
We worked with CDFIs. We had an advisory council. It was a very collaborative effort.
Wells Fargo has been active in the Washington, D.C. area for over 100 years. Where we live demonstrates that we're eager to listen and learn from the communities that we serve and be a partner in providing innovative solutions to some of the systemic problems that we see our neighbors facing.
about triumphs. We heard about this partnership, how Black people come together and can do business and should do business in the community. And a wealth of speakers. Thank you for streaming in. It's on people. You need to see it. Go back and think one thing at one moment can change your life and your business. Dr. Draper,
Impeccable.
yeah.
We are so pleased that you joined us either live or on live stream. This has been a wonderful opportunity to network and to connect. I met a whole bunch of new folks, found out about businesses that I didn't know about, and they found out about the Afro. And so what a pleasure. I want to give a shout out to Nicole Kirby. Thank you, Nicole, for all of your help. Event planner extraordinaire. I want to give a shout out to the tech team, those who are behind the cameras and behind the mics. Thank you for all of that. A big shout out to the caterer. If you were live, you know that was a highlight of this afternoon. I can't thank the Afro team enough. Thank you. Our on-air personalities were great. And so we thank you for that. And I want to tell everybody, you'll have to pick up next week's Afro so you can see the pictures from this wonderful, wonderful event. And so thank you again for being with us for the third Afro. We're looking forward to next week because Black businesses matter, not just during a particular month, or a particular day, or a particular event. But Black businesses matter all of the time. Let's support one another. Let's create some Black millionaires
And billionaires.
Let's support one another and let's teach our young people about the importance of entrepreneurship and financial literacy and everything else. Thanks to our sponsors for joining us on today. Thank you for your support. We absolutely appreciate you. And if I forgot anybody, remind me and we'll thank you in next week's paper. Take care. God bless.
Good night. You got it? It's a wrap.